Hello, this is Mr. Molo for a lesson about solving absolute value equations. So you'll kind of see these lessons before break now will be kind of funny. We'll skip over from different pages to cover these things before break. These are all things that you need for MCAs, but the book doesn't really cover it in one spot. So that's why you'll see your homework one day is on page 150 and another day on like 200 and another day on 350. So it's kind of jumping all over the book, but it is on MCA, so we are teaching it. The book just doesn't do a good job of having everything in order. So remember, absolute value measures your distance away from 0. So my absolute value of negative 6 would be positive 6. Because no matter what, you're still 6 spaces away from 0. So if I'm measuring from negative 6 to 0, that's still 6 spaces. Or if I'm measuring from 0 to positive 6, that's still 6 spaces. It doesn't matter. Absolute value measures distance. You can't go negative 5 feet, 5 feet south, 5 feet north, things like that. But you really can't go negative distances. When you have something like this, absolute value of x equals 12, well, then you know there's 2 answers. So it could be 12 or it could be negative 12. There's pretty much always 2 answers for absolute value. I'll go over here in a minute when you won't get 2 answers for absolute value. When I have a problem like this, x plus 7 equals 24. So the way I would set it up to figure out my 2 answers is I have to wait until everything is alone on the left side besides the absolute value bars, which this one's already done for us. And then I'm just going to write out my problem. So x plus 7 equals 24. And then the other part of the problem is x plus 7 equals negative 24, because this answer could be negative 24, and then when I take the absolute value of it, it would become positive 24. So that's how I figure out my 2 answers, or my 2 questions for my 2 answers. And then it's the same stuff we've been doing. So it says plus 7, I minus 7. So 24 minus 7 is 17. Then same thing over here, it says plus 7, so I minus 7. Negative 24 minus 7 is negative 31. Then I can always go back and double check and plug them in for my x and see if that makes sense. 17 plus 7 does give me 24. Absolute value of positive 24 is 24. X equals negative 31. Negative 31 plus 7 is negative 24. Absolute value of negative 24 is positive 24. This problem, you'll see that the 3 is there first, so I need to get rid of that before I can start solving. So this says 3 times x plus 7, so I need to divide by 3. And same thing as before, if I divide the left side of the equation by 3, I need to divide the right side of the equation by 3. So then I end up with x plus 7 equals 8. And then again, I'm going to end up with 2 equations because there's 2 answers. So x plus 7 equals 8 is one of my equations. And then x plus 7 equals negative 8 is going to be the other part. And then same thing as before. I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. Subtract 7. So first one's usually a little easier to see. 8 minus 7 is 1. So x could be 1 here. So 1 plus 7, yep. That equals 8. Over here, it's going to be a negative 15. Because negative 15 plus 7 does equal negative 8. Absolute value of negative 8 is positive 8. Alright, and these are the 2 times where I would not get 2 answers. So I see a minus 8 here. So I'm going to add 8 to both sides. Add 8 to both sides. And then once I add 8 to both sides, I end up with x plus 2 equals 0. And like we did before, we set up 2 equations normally, except remember our answer for the other equations were negative. Like x plus 7 equals 8, and then x plus 7 equals negative 8. X plus 7 equals 24, x plus 7 equals negative 24. Well here, x plus 2 equals 0, or there's no way I can set up x plus 2 equals negative 0. So this is the one time when my answer equals 0, I'm only going to have one answer. And I would still solve it the same way. I would subtract 2, so x is going to be negative 2. That's the only number that works for this answer. So when you see 0 as your answer, there's only going to be one solution, and it's going to be whatever you're doing to solve it. This one, so it says a plus 3 here, so I'm going to subtract 3. I end up with x plus 4 equals a negative 1. And this is going to be a no solution problem, because there's no way that I would take the absolute value of anything, doesn't matter what I put in for x, and add 4 to it. There's no way I'm going to get negative 1 in an answer, because the answer for everything in here is going to be positive, so there's no way I'm going to get a negative answer. So this is going to be a no solution one. There's no number I can think of, anyone can think of, that's going to be possible for x to have it be a negative 1 after you take the absolute value of it. So most of the answers are going to have, or most of the questions are going to have 2 answers. There are some that will have 1 answer if your answer is 0, and there are some that will have no answers if your answer is negative, because that's not possible.